Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Power and Redemption. My name is Nicole and today I would dive in a bit into relationships and paying attention to some of the relationships and people that you attract as a chosen one or as magnets for people who have narcissistic potential or they are narcissistic. And again, when I speak of that, I'm speaking with a person with a deprived spirit, somebody who has faced a lot of trauma in their life as well, somebody who has a lot of bruises. They are hurt, be it mother wound, whatever wounds. However, they have become hardened in their hearts and they refuse to let go. They refuse to seek repentance. They refuse to be delivered and they see themselves as victims. And this is what happens to me. And this is, that's how I am. And so they are open to be used by the enemy to hurt others. So as I mentioned earlier on, I moved and lived with my grandmother. And there I strived and I thrived. Because by that time I had finished high school and started working, but not permanently, but things were looking up. And I would think, although my mother and I, although she migrated and although we did not have a relationship per se, because my grandmother was like everything to me at that stage. However, I think my grandmother was trying to protect me from something and people that she saw, and she knew the traits. And so she had reached out to my mother, although she received the letter I gave her saying my mother said to remove me from school and all of that. She reached out to my mom and said, your daughter has graduated, she has finished school, and things in the Caribbean is relatively slow. Why don't you take her overseas, so she could, do something with her life? And the response from my mother was, all that is here are babysitting and walking dogs. So I know she would not like this sort of thing, so it's better she remain with you. Anyway, the life went on and I went on. But I tend to find earlier, I attract people that share my past. Like they had traumas of some sort. They also had mother wounds. And some of the relationship and some of what we shared was quite toxic. You had things where, I had some people that, like, I wouldn't call them friends, but at the time I saw them as friends. They're into fighting. They like to fight. We into the gossiping. So for me, as trying to belong and trying to fit in, I would sit there and listen and entertain without stopping them or doing anything. Even if sometimes I'm silent, but I'm there, taking it in and, giving little advice, chipping in here and there. And this in itself is very toxic and bad. But there was this young man, and I would bring him in again now because this young man was also on assignment. I wasn't aware of it, but up to 2024, you would see the role as I continue with my story. You would see the role he played in my life. So myself and this young man were getting really close very fast. And in our relations, I realized he too had deep mother wound and he refused to let go of it. He always say, oh, she don't care, she never cared, but myself and this young man trade stories and we became very close. But I noticed the closer we got, the further I moved from my grandmother and the people who cared. So it was like a push-pull sort of system. And the closer we got, the friction between my grandmother and I arose. There one time I started cohabitating with him with his aunt. And oh my God, she herself, she despised me, like for whatever reason. I didn't have to give her a reason, but the push from my grandmother and the pull onto him. And what was interesting about that young man though, although he claimed he didn't care about his mother and she didn't care about him. But every relationship he had, that person will be taken at least once to his mother. But of course, at the time, being introduced to his mother, I thought, oh my, I am so special. This would lead to a marriage. This relationship is going somewhere. I never had this before. So we cohabitated, and then we then had to move on our own. That was, of course, a very bad thing to do. Fornication is not of God. However, now I know better. So in me giving my story, I am trying to help someone to heal, to seek deliverance. If they are seeing these signs or they realize this sort of things happening in their life, please take early intervention, because the narcissist has a very deprived spirit. They come in, they are very charismatic, they're smooth talkers. They tell you all the right things you need to hear. However, they're liars, they are manipulators, they intimidate, and they contain all the negative traits. See you in my next video. Thank you.